Hello, this is Mario Goranov with BG Truck Enterprise. Today I'm going to perform a inside pre-trip inspection on the vehicle with the manual transmission. Once I get in, I want to check my seat and make sure there's no crack, broke, or damage. In good condition. I'm going to check my seat belt, make sure the latches are unlatched and there's no cuts or broken. Next thing, I'm going to check my window, make sure it goes up and down properly. It's not cracked, broke, or damaged. I'm going to check both of my mirrors, make sure it's not cracked, broke, or damaged. Next thing, I'm going to check door, make sure it's open and closed properly. Next thing, I'm going to check my windshield, make sure there's no illegal stickers, no crack, broke, or damaged. And then I'm going to check the seal, make sure there's no leaks around it. Next, I'm going to check my dashboard, make sure there's no crack, broke, or damaged. I'm going to check my gear shifter, make sure there's no crack, broke, or damage. And I'm going to check my clutch, make sure there's no excessive play. At this point, I'm going to perform a safety start. I'll have my clutch applied. I'll turn ignition, make sure I wait for a couple of seconds to warm up the glow plugs, and then I'll start the vehicle. Make sure neutral position. Once I start the truck, I'm going to make sure I check all my gauges. I'm going to start from left to right. My oil gauge, make sure it's rising between 40 and 60, and it does, it works properly. My water gauge, make sure it's rising between 100 and 170. Make sure it's rising, and it does work properly. Next, I'm going to check my volt gauge. Make sure it's working between 12 and 14 volts. It works properly. I'm going to check my RPM gauge. Make sure it's rising at 800 psi RPMs. That works properly. Then I'm going to check my speedometer. Make sure it works properly. I'm going to check my fuel gauge. Make sure it's worked properly. And I'm going to check my air gauge, front and rear. Make sure it rises to 120, and it does work properly. I'll continue with my dashboard. That way I don't miss anything. Here I'm going to check my froze and defrost. Right now my froze, it's blowing at my feet, working properly. And I'll switch to defrost and make sure it's going to defrost and it's working properly. Next, I'm going to move towards the steering wheel and check my steering wheel. Make sure it's no more than 2 inches of a plate on 20 diameter. I'm going to check my city horn, make sure it works properly. And the highway horn, make sure it works properly. Next, I'm going to check my signals. A left turn signal working properly. Right turn signal working properly. Four-way flasher, make sure it works properly. And I'll check my lights. Then I'm going to check my high beam and low beam. They're all working properly. Next, we're going to perform is my tug test. I want to make sure my trailer, tractor, and service brakes work properly. I'm going to engage the vehicle in a low gear. I'm going to check my trailer brake, and I'll release my tractor brake. Alright, I'm going to slowly tug on the trailer. If the truck is not moving, my trailer brake works properly, and it does. Next, I'm going to check my tractor brake. I'm going to apply my tractor brake, and I'll release my trailer brake. I'm going to tug on the truck, make sure it's not moving. Truck is not moving. My tractor brake works properly. Next, I'm going to check is my service brake. I'm going to release tractor and trailer. I'm going to go 5 miles an hour. Once I apply the service brake, if the tractor is pulling to the right or left, it means we have to adjust the brakes. I apply the service brake. The truck is not pulling. That means my brakes are adjusted, and service brake works properly. Next, I'm going to check is my lap test. I'm going to turn the engine off, and I'll turn the ignition on. I'll release the clutch, and I'll turn the key on. Next, I'm going to check is my lap test, leaks, alarms, and buttons. For the leaks, without any brakes applied, I should not lose no more than 3 psi, and I don't in 1 minute. Then with the brake applied, service brake applied, I should not lose no more than 4 psi in 1 minute. Apply the brake, I don't. Next, I'm going to check my light and alarm. So I'm gonna fan the brakes between 60 psi, I should have a red warning light and a audio. I have the indicator light is on, and alarm at this moment is not working properly, but it's still it does pass. The light is visual too. And then between 40 and 20, my tractor and trailer brake will pop out. Okay, so both of my truck and trailer popped out. That means my lab test is working properly, and I've finished my pre-trip inspection. Thanks for watching.